Ikigai, the Japanese secret to living every day with meaning. Imagine waking up every morning with a sense of purpose so strong that no obstacle could shake it. Imagine a life where every action feels meaningful, where every moment is infused with an energy that makes even the simplest tasks feel important. This isn't just a dream, there is a word for this feeling. Ikigai, a concept so powerful that it has been linked to longevity, happiness, and an unshakable sense of fulfillment. But what exactly is Ikigai, and more importantly, how do we find it? We live in a world obsessed with productivity, with success, with chasing goals that often leave us exhausted rather than fulfilled. We're told to find our passion, to do what we love, to make money doing it, yet so many of us feel lost. We achieve one thing, then immediately set our sights on the next, never stopping to ask the most fundamental question: what truly makes life worth living? The answer, according to the Japanese, lies in Ikigai, the reason you wake up in the morning. Ikigai is not just a career, it's not just about making money, and it's not about chasing happiness as if it's some distant treasure waiting at the end of a long journey. It's about the intersection of four things: what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you can be rewarded for. When these four elements align, life takes on a different quality. Work no longer feels like work. Time stops feeling like a burden. Every action becomes part of something greater. But let's break this down logically. If Ikigai is the key to a meaningful life, why do so many people struggle to find it? The problem is that most of us live in only one or two of these four areas. Some of us do what we love, but it doesn't pay the bills. Some of us do what we're good at, but we feel disconnected from it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Some of us do what the world needs, but we burn out because we never take care of ourselves, and some of us only focus on making money, but we feel empty inside. The key is balance, an alignment so precise that it creates a life that feels effortless yet deeply fulfilling. But what happens when we don't have this balance? What happens when we feel lost, directionless, as if we are merely existing rather than truly living? This is the state most people find themselves in. They feel like something is missing, but they can't quite put their finger on what it is. They feel like they are running on a treadmill, constantly moving but never truly getting anywhere. Now think about this. What if the problem isn't that life is meaningless, but that we have never been taught how to find our meaning? What if the reason we feel lost is not because we lack purpose, but because we have been looking for it in the wrong places? Ikigai isn't something you stumble upon, it's something you cultivate. It's not a single moment of realization where everything suddenly makes sense. It's the process of aligning your actions with your inner truth, day by day, decision by decision. But how do we do this? How do we find something that seems so abstract? The answer lies in small moments. The Japanese believe that Ikigai is not some grand mission that is reserved for the few. It is found in the details of everyday life. A fisherman who wakes up before dawn to catch the perfect fish has Ikigai. A teacher who sees a child's eyes light up with understanding has Ikigai. A gardener who carefully tends to their plants, watching them grow over time, has Ikigai. It is not always about changing the world in some dramatic way. It is about doing something that feels right, something that gives life meaning on a personal level. But here's where things get interesting. Ikigai is not always easy. In fact, it often requires struggle. It requires effort, discipline, and a willingness to keep going even when things are difficult. The Western world often tells us that happiness is about comfort, about avoiding pain, about chasing pleasure. But Ikigai suggests the opposite. A life of deep meaning is not necessarily an easy life. It is a life where we are challenged, where we grow, where we push through obstacles because we believe in what we are doing. Think about the last time you were truly engaged in something, a time when you lost track of time because you were so focused, so immersed in what you were doing. That feeling is a glimpse of Ikigai. It is a state of flow where effort and enjoyment merge into one. This is why people who have Ikigai often live longer, healthier lives. They are not constantly fighting against themselves. They are in harmony with their purpose. But let's go deeper. If Ikigai is so powerful, why do so many people ignore it? Why do so many of us settle for lives that feel disconnected from meaning? The answer is fear. Fear of change, fear of failure, fear of stepping outside of what is familiar. It is easier to follow the path that society lays out for us than to question whether it is truly the right path. It is easier to chase money, to chase status, to chase security, than to take the risk of following something deeper. But here's the real question. What is the cost of ignoring Ikigai? What happens when we spend years, even decades, doing something that does not align with who we truly are? The answer is quiet despair, a slow, creeping sense that we are wasting our time, a feeling that no amount of external success can fill the void inside. This is why so many people feel empty even when they have everything they thought they wanted, because they never stopped to ask whether what they were chasing was truly their own goal or just something they were told they should want. So what do we do about this? How do we break free from this cycle? The first step is to start questioning everything, to stop living on autopilot and start paying attention to what genuinely excites us, what energizes us, what makes us feel alive. The second step is to take action. Ikigai is not just a concept to think about. It is something that must be lived. Even if we don't have all the answers yet, we can start aligning our daily actions with what feels meaningful. We can start doing more of what brings us joy, more of what challenges us in a good way, more of what makes us feel connected to something greater than ourselves. But the biggest secret of Ikigai is this: it is not a destination. It is not something you achieve once and then hold on to forever. It is a way of living, a way of thinking, a way of approaching every single day. It is about constantly refining, constantly growing, constantly adjusting until life feels like it is in alignment. And when this happens, everything changes. Work stops feeling like a chore, mornings stop feeling like something to dread, even the difficult moments start to feel meaningful because they are part of something bigger. So here's the final question. What would your life look like if every day had meaning? What would change if you stopped chasing happiness as an external goal and instead focused on living with purpose? What if the secret to fulfillment was never about achieving more, but about aligning more? And if Ikigai is the key to a truly meaningful life, what's stopping us from finding it right now? How to discover your Ikigai and build a life of meaning step by step. The first step to finding Ikigai is to stop waiting for some grand revelation and start paying attention to the details of daily life. Most people think meaning comes in dramatic moments, in life-changing decisions, in sudden epiphanies, but that's rarely the case. Meaning is found in the things we do repeatedly, in the habits we form, in the way we interact with the world every single day. If life feels empty, it's not because meaning doesn't exist, it's because attention is being placed in the wrong areas. The brain is wired to focus on survival, on avoiding pain, on following the easiest path, but meaning is rarely found in comfort. It's found in challenge, in growth, in pushing towards something that matters even when it's difficult. The problem is that most people don't even know what matters to them. They've spent so much time doing what they're expected to do that they've forgotten how to listen to themselves. Passion isn't something that just appears one day, it's cultivated through action. Waiting to find a passion is like waiting to be fluent in a language without ever practicing. The only way to know whether something is meaningful is to engage with it, to test it, to see how it feels over time. Ikigai is not a single moment of discovery, it's a process of refining, of noticing what brings energy and what drains it, of paying attention to the small clues that are always present but often ignored. The best way to start is by asking a simple question. What are the things that make time disappear? What are the activities that, when fully engaged in, create a state where nothing else seems to matter? These moments are glimpses of Ikigai. They are signs pointing towards something deeper. But recognizing them is not enough. Action is required. People often wait until they feel ready, until the perfect opportunity presents itself, but waiting is the fastest way to guarantee nothing changes. Small steps, taken consistently, create more clarity than endless thinking ever will. It's not about making a perfect choice, it's about making any choice that moves things forward. Clarity comes from engagement, not from analysis. The fear of making the wrong decision keeps people stuck in a loop of inaction, but the truth is that no decision is permanent. Ikigai is not a fixed destination. It evolves with experience, with growth, with the changing seasons of life. The mistake is believing that meaning is something that must be found before action is taken, when in reality, meaning is created through the actions themselves. Purpose is not discovered, it is built. But what happens when nothing feels meaningful? What happens when there is no clear passion, no obvious path, no strong pull toward anything? This is where most people give up, assuming that some people are just lucky enough to have purpose while others are not. But the difference is not luck. It's how much attention is given to curiosity. Ikigai often starts as a spark, a small interest, something that feels slightly enjoyable but not life-changing. The mistake is ignoring these small signals because they don't seem big enough. The truth is that most great passions start as mere curiosities. A writer doesn't wake up one day knowing they want to write. They start by writing small things, by experimenting, by playing with words until it becomes something deeper. A musician doesn't start by composing symphonies, they start by picking up an instrument, by making mistakes, by feeling their way through the process until it turns into something meaningful. Waiting for a perfect passion to appear fully formed is the fastest way to ensure it never appears at all. The only way to discover meaning is to follow the small sparks of curiosity and see where they lead. But curiosity alone is not enough. Ikigai requires skill, growth, mastery over time. Loving something is only part of the equation. Being good at it is what turns it into something sustainable. This is where patience comes in. The modern world is obsessed with instant gratification, with quick results, with immediate success, but real meaning is built through dedication. The most fulfilling pursuits are the ones that require effort, that challenge abilities, that push limits. This is why many people feel disconnected from their work. They chase money, they chase security, but they neglect mastery. They stay in jobs that require no growth, no challenge, no deep engagement, and then wonder why they feel unfulfilled. The human mind craves progress. It thrives on overcoming obstacles, on improving, on seeing tangible results from effort. Work that feels meaningless is often work that does not allow for growth. But even growth is not enough. Ikigai also requires connection to something greater than the self. This is why people who focus only on personal success often feel empty. Meaning comes from contribution, from knowing that what is being done matters beyond just personal gain. This doesn't mean everyone needs to change the world, but it does mean that work feels more meaningful when it positively impacts others. A doctor saving lives, a teacher shaping young minds, an artist creating something that moves people. These are all forms of Ikigai because they go beyond the self. But contribution is not limited to grand acts. The smallest things can create meaning when done with the right intention. A barista who takes pride in making the perfect cup of coffee, a janitor who ensures a space is clean and welcoming, a parent who raises a child with love and care. All of these are forms of Ikigai. Meaning is not about scale, it's about depth. It's about how fully present and engaged a person is in what they do. But even contribution is not enough. The final piece of Ikigai is sustainability. It must be something that can be continued long-term, something that provides for the essentials of life. Passion without sustainability leads to burnout. Contribution without sustainability leads to sacrifice that cannot be maintained. Ikigai exists at the intersection of passion, skill, contribution, and sustainability. When all four align, life stops on a different quality. Work stops feeling like an obligation, motivation becomes effortless. Even the hard moments feel worthwhile because they are in service of something meaningful. But achieving this balance is not about waiting for it to happen. It's about making deliberate choices every day. It's about prioritizing what matters, about cutting out what doesn't. It's about being willing to make changes, to take risks, to step outside of comfort in pursuit of something greater. The biggest mistake is thinking it's too late, that change is impossible, that Ikigai is only for those who have already figured everything out. The truth is that it is never too late to align life with meaning. Every moment is an opportunity to course correct, to make a new decision, to take a step in a different direction. The only real failure is staying stuck, refusing to act, continuing on a path that no longer feels right. The question is not whether Ikigai exists, it does. How to apply Ikigai to everyday life and create a routine of meaning. Ikigai is not an abstract theory meant only for discussion. It is something that must be lived, something that must be integrated into daily life so deeply that it becomes second nature. The mistake most people make is thinking that meaning is something to be found later, something that will come when circumstances change, when the perfect opportunity arrives, when the right conditions magically align. But waiting is the fastest way to guarantee nothing changes. Ikigai is not something that happens to people. It is something that is created through deliberate action. The key is not some grand overhaul of life, but small, consistent changes that align daily routines with deeper purpose. The first step is to stop wasting time on things that do not contribute to meaning. Most people live on autopilot, filling their days with distractions, meaningless entertainment, obligations that could easily be removed if they were honest about priorities. The modern world is filled with endless ways to consume time without adding anything valuable. Hours are lost scrolling through screens, engaging in conversations that lead nowhere, doing work that does not align with anything personally fulfilling. The first step to applying Ikigai is to cut out the meaningless. Audit every action, every habit, every task, and ask whether it contributes to something that actually matters. If it doesn't, remove it. The second step is to build a routine that prioritizes the things that create meaning. People often wait until they feel inspired, until they have the motivation to start. But discipline is more reliable than motivation. Ikigai is built through consistency. If something matters, it must be scheduled, it must have space in daily life, it must be treated as a priority rather than something that happens when there is free time. Free time is an illusion. If something is not prioritized, it will always be pushed aside by other distractions. Meaning must be scheduled like an unbreakable appointment. The third step is to engage deeply with what matters. Most people live in a state of constant distraction, always splitting attention between multiple things, never fully present. This is why so many activities feel empty. The brain is never fully engaged in anything. Ikigai requires deep focus. When working, work fully. When creating, create fully. When connecting with others, be fully present. Meaning is not just about what is done, but how it is done. The fourth step is to embrace difficulty. Modern life has conditioned people to seek ease, to avoid discomfort, to chase instant gratification. But deep meaning is never found in comfort. Growth comes from challenge. The most fulfilling work is often the hardest. The most meaningful relationships require effort. The most valuable skills take years to master. Avoiding struggle is avoiding meaning. The challenge is not the enemy, it is the path. The fifth step is to connect actions to a larger purpose. This does not mean every person must have some world-changing mission. It simply means that every action should connect to something greater than short-term pleasure. A craftsman finds meaning in perfecting their work. A teacher finds meaning in shaping young minds. A caregiver finds meaning in supporting others. Even the smallest tasks can have meaning when connected to a larger vision. When meaning is clear, motivation is no longer needed. The work itself becomes the reward. The final step is to constantly refine, to adjust, to evolve. Ikigai is not static. It changes with time, with experience, with new understanding. The biggest mistake is thinking that once meaning is found, it will remain the same forever. Life changes. People grow. What matters now may not be what matters in 10 years. The key is to stay aware, to constantly realign actions with meaning as it evolves. This is why reflection is necessary. Not passive daydreaming, but active questioning of whether daily life aligns with what truly matters. If it doesn't, change is needed. Small shifts made consistently lead to massive transformations over time. The difference between a meaningful life and an empty one is not luck, it is not intelligence, it is not talent. It is the willingness to act, to commit, to build a life that aligns with deep purpose rather than drifting aimlessly. The question is not whether Ikigai exists, it does. The question is whether it will be lived, and if not now, then when.